Hi, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Shannon and this is Knitter's Life. This is my Whiskey and Wool YouTube channel and my Knitter's Life series season 2. I started the season 2 in January. Season 1 started the January before, in January 21 through the end of 2021. And season 2 is 2022. Oh, I just realized season 2, 21, season 1. Who knows how long this will go. But yeah, welcome. You can find me on Instagram as Whiskey and Wool and on Ravelry as Whiskey and Wool. And on Instagram, there are 2 extra O's in the word wool because the one without extra O's was taken. I have no idea. I don't even know if it's active anymore. It's fine. All good. Just so you know where to find me. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying this beautiful fall weather. This is the second time I've done the intro. The first time it was part of my long usual way of recording. So if you see changes, if you notice changes in this first 5-6 minutes or so and the whole rest of the video, that's why. I had a noise machine on, which I put on. It's a Friday, actually. It's Friday afternoon, and my work day ended up ending early, so I decided to just go ahead and record. And I keep a noise machine on when I am working to help me concentrate and to block out other household sounds. It also calms my cat down. It keeps him chill because he knows that means I'm staying here and working and not, running out to the office or anything. So yeah, I had that on while I was recording and it was really significantly different. It shut itself off about 5 minutes into the recording. So here we are. Just kidding. One more thing before I go. I took off my sweater. I'm wearing my witchy t-shirt. I said in the other intro that I got rid of, I talked about the documentary series about makeup and the dangers of everyday skin care and makeup products. It's called Not So Pretty. Maybe this is old news to you because I think it's been around for about 6 months. I think they put it out in April. But they detail like the struggle with Johnson & Johnson and talc and the dangers of talc and how talc is in a lot of our makeup. And then they also talk about nails and hair and da-da-da-da. I just watched it last night. I binge watched all 4 episodes. I think they're like around 30 minutes. Oh my God, so eye-opening. I threw out so much makeup. Yeah, so, luckily I think makeup that is older than 2020 probably is suspect. And there may be other companies that are making the hair care products. Mind blown. They detail the Diva curl thing. So good. Definitely watch it. Really worth it. Really worth it, I think. Yeah. It totally will change how I buy. Luckily, I have a lot of skin sensitivities, so I have had to do a lot of paring down and I have to be pretty careful about what I buy already. But man, there is no regulation in the United States for these things. None. So you really need to be careful. You need to be an educated consumer. Watch. Back to your regular program. All right. I'm going to start this, before I get into the knits, I'm going to start this episode off the way I do most episodes after the intro, which is I'm going to do a little gin chat. I hope to be filming that a little later this evening after I'm done with this and I work out and have some dinner. I'll probably do the chat. So I hope you enjoy, and I will see you back here. If you're not interested in listening to the gin chat, it is pretty fast. It's about this one's probably going to be fast, like 8-10 minutes. And I just talk about a gin, in this case, sometimes a whiskey, usually a whiskey, how it's made, a little bit about the flavors, and I do a tasting on screen. If you're not interested, totally fine. You can skip ahead. I'll tell you where to skip to right here, so you can just move fast forward until you. I am going to review Empress 1908 gin. It is this beautiful blue color, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. It is made in Canada, in Victoria, Canada. Victoria is on Vancouver Island on the west coast of the country. I have never tried this before. I've had it in my cabinet for a couple months. I picked up this tiny bottle. This is not the usual size. The usual size is 750 milliliters. But this is, I was just trying to see how big this one was. This was a limited bottling of a small batch bottling, I guess, that I picked up at a duty-free store. So who knows? I don't know where they get their stock, those duty-frees. Some of you may have a better idea about that than me. But as far as I can tell, it is exactly what you would get, what you may see in a store near you, for Empress 1908 gin. I have poured out a little bit into my tasting dram with a couple drops of water, just to open up the flavors and such. And that will sit here while I tell you a little bit about the distillery. I did see that they were established in 2008. Their idea was to create handcrafted gin in small copper stills. And they decided to call it, the distillery is called Victoria Distillery, and they decided to name it after the Empress Hotel in Victoria, in the city of Victoria. And I have a picture of from their website of the hotel that they were inspired by. So that's what they were inspired by. They Sorry, I'm just having trouble seeing my screen because I have my microphone in front of it. One of the signature flavors that they add to the gin is black tea. And they also use the butterfly pea blossom to create the blue color. They did say on their website that the blue color is fragile. It's not stable. And that exposure to light and air, like, most things would cause it to change color. But I've kept it. It's been sealed until just a few minutes ago, and my cabinet is, sunlight free. It's dark in there, so I assume this is the typical color. And then what you'll see if you look at their website, they have a whole bunch of recipes, and the mixtures that they combine with this very, cobalt blue colored gin, it'll often change to like a violet or pale pink, turquoise. So it's pretty interesting. That alone is like a wow factor, right? Because the only other liquors that we tend to drink that have color to them would be like absinthe. Oh my gosh, it just went out of my head, but it's yellow and green. Like there's a yellow one and a green one. I can't even remember what it's called, but I'll put it on screen because I'm sure I'll remember while I'm editing. And then blue curacao, which is really bright blue, and that's a very sweet liqueur that's actually often seen in like tropical drinks. Because I think it's from South America, that one. Yeah, so that is their inspiration, and they tell us on their website that they have 8 different ingredients that they feature. Their aim with creating Empress 1908 was to make a London dry style gin, but to add a twist to it, a Canadian twist, if you will. So the pea blossom is one ingredient. Fairmont Empress tea from the hotel is another ingredient that they use in the process. Juniper, grapefruit, coriander seed, cinnamon bark, rose petal, and ginger root. So those are, you know, some of the flavors that you can expect when you taste it. They have won awards. It's been around since 2008, so about 14 years. So I think it's readily available. I realized that I did not get a flavor expert, so I may spend some time doing that, and you might see some editing as I do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a taste. Interesting. All right, I smell a lot of citrus, like lime, sharp citrus. I guess it would be grapefruit. So, and a little spice, juniper for sure off the top. I'm curious about the tea and the pea flower. Wow. Sharp. It has some real sharp taste in there. Sharp citrus and spice. There's nothing in there that I could put my finger on and say that's tea. It seems to be like a rush of citrus with lots of spice for me. I'm probably tasting the cinnamon and the ginger. Let's see what they say about it, and then I will find I'll find an expert. They say they're one of the oldest artisan distilleries in Canada, so that's not they're only 14 years old, so it's interesting. I'm going to try to find what else they make, but they also have a geothermal system that they use in their distillation process, which closes the loop on water use and heating. So they're very sustainable. Their practices are very sustainable, and that's cool. I like that quite a lot. They don't offer tours. You cannot tour them. Oh, okay. Here are the two guys. So the owner is Peter Hunt. He's part of the team that created this gin. And the older man that I was seeing in the images is their master distiller. So that's Phil Coors. And he's from Montreal originally. And he started to work for the distillery in 2010. Yeah, and there's other folks there as well. I don't see anything about what else they make. This might be it. This might be all that they make. I was thinking that maybe they make whiskey, because often you'll see that. Okay, I'm having trouble. I don't see anything on their website about the taste other than the tasting notes that I already talked about. So I'm going to try to find some information from professional tastings. Okay, so let's see. Oh, by the way, the price for a 750 milliliter bottle is about 36, 37. Less, it should be in that 35 to 70. Oh, good. I found on Flavier, which has the flavor spiral, which we love. Okay. They're owned by the Marker Group. They're owned by a bigger company now. So Victoria Spirits distillers make Empress gin, but they're part of a bigger lineup that includes gin, whiskey, vodka, and liqueurs. I don't know. It's considered an exotic gin. Okay, here we go. On the nose, juniper plus spicy and floral notes. Flavor profile is reminiscent of a classic London dry with the addition of floral notes and a hint of citrus pith. The finish is clean, light with a lavender blush. I actually find the flavor profile doesn't have the long lingering flavor profile that some gins and especially whiskeys will have. It's like in and out. It seems very in and out to me. So the flavor wheel shows that it starts with citrus and then moves to juniper and some blossoms, lavender, rose, and then the spices
and botanicals in the end. I also read elsewhere that the butterfly pea blossoms are supposed to give it kind of an earthy flavor, which I don't taste at all. This to me tastes quite a lot like a London Dry. I'm drinking, for example, I have open in my cabinet a Tanqueray, and this tastes a lot like it. There are there's like underlying richness, which I would maybe say that's the tea flavors coming through. That is not always common in a gin, but this is a really drinkable gin. Like, I think it would make a lovely gin, and seltzer, like, which is my go-to gin drink. I saw a great recipe for a Negroni, a white Negroni, where you use a fortified wine or fortified vermouth that is clear and not dark, so it's white. So I'm going to try that, so I won't change the color. And we'll see what happens. I may put a picture of that on screen for you here, if it makes sense. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it wasn't too disjointed with a lot of edits and stuff, as I was sort of realized that I didn't have the tasting notes that I needed to share with you. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope I enjoyed that. All right, let me talk about what I'm wearing. I finished my Alpenglow sweater by Andrea Mowry. Yeah, it was a fun knit. I have been all about knitting from my stash this year, which you're probably going to hear again later in this video. I cannot account for what was said in the last hour. But yeah, so the only reason I made it was because I had stash, and I didn't need to buy. I only bought one skein of yarn, one skein of spin cycle. But I had in my stash, the main color is a yarn by Rama, and it is the Phenol PT2. I don't think they make this line anymore. They merged it into something else, but I don't think PT2 is made. I think I might be wrong. I might have it wrong. I'm not up on my Norwegian wool companies very, very well, but I had skeins in my stash, and I ended up coming up with a great combo with a contrast yarn from La Bien Aimée. This is the Merino Sport Weight. The pattern's written for Sport Weight yarn. This is Sport Weight for me anyway on my needles. I think it's a 4-ply officially, but it knitted up like a Sport Weight for me. This is also a Sport Weight, a superwash Sport Weight, 100% superwash merino from La Bien Aimée in the colorway Calcifer. It's a gorgeous tonal red, orange, and fuchsia. I love the way it looks with the blue and the spin cycle. The spin cycle, this color changing yarn, is Siren's Song, exclusive to the Mermaid's Pearl in Rhode Island. I had seen the Mermaid's Pearl at Cake Wool in 2021 when I went, and I picked up one skein because I really, really love the colors, and I love the sort of ombre sunset effect that it has. And I determined that would be the best with these other two skeins. I've been, the La Bien Aimée I picked up probably in 2020. I bought a bunch of the Mizuyaki colors that Amy released that year. And just stashed them because I didn't know what to make. So yeah, this is what I use for Alpenglow. I skipped the textured yarn. When I was looking to put together colors and cast on, once I knew what my main color was going to be and what my spin cycle was going to be, and I chose this as my contrast, it felt like there was already a lot going on with these two yarns, like this being a variegated and this being color changing, that I couldn't figure out what contrast color to put up there. Magpie was out of the plume yarn that was recommended, and I just ended up skipping it and just using the spin cycle in the, starting right off the bat with the spin cycle, and I think it looks fine. And also spin cycle here on the cuffs. I do like how the light blue looks over there more than this. I didn't really color manage. Actually, what you're seeing here in the body of the sweater, this is one full skein. So that's how the skein knit. It ends in this brighter blue color. And then on this sleeve, I knit this sleeve first actually. I started with the second skein and knitting this. I maybe had a dab left of the dark blue. That might be what's here, because I think there is a little bit of a jarring change that happens right here. So, and I have, I would say about a half, maybe a little more than a half of my second skein doing that, and I knit like the third or fourth size. I always kind of knit in the middle of the range for my size. So yeah, that is Alpenglow. I think I modified the length a little bit. I have a picture that I'll pop on screen of me today. I put it on for the first time today just to record. Martha had been wearing it up till this point. It might go back on her because this I'm still knitting on, and I just have this pinned on her. I think that's all I can tell you. All I need to tell you about this sweater. Yeah, no other mods besides the color. Oh, I knit the collar straight off the bat. I didn't do that. She has you provisional cast on and then go back and knit the collar. I just knit the collar and went straight down because I don't really like going around and picking up stitches, making it match. And it didn't, I don't think it made any difference at all, like in the shape. I think some people, like especially if you're knitting a bigger size, I think often designers just don't get the neckline right, and doing a provisional cast on can be really useful because that you can then continue knitting the body if you want before you knit, when you go back to pick up the stitches, before you cast on for the collar. So that can be really good. If you're someone who struggles with getting a neckline fit the way you want, doing a provisional cast on is a good way to go. But I felt confident. I had made her sweater last year. I don't remember the name of it. And I didn't have any problem with the collar. So I just knit the collar. It's a fold over collar. So I just knit the whole thing and then did a whip stitch to put it in place. I also really like when I'm knitting sweaters to have the collar done because it just looks nicer. Yeah, I didn't do the collar yet on this one, but I'm going to talk about this next. I think that's in my other previously recorded segment, so time. Yeah, so this is, Martha is not really wearing, but I just kind of pinned it on her because I didn't want to take the time to put the sweater on another needle. I just wanted to kind of see how it looked. But this is the Lace and Fade Boxy by Joji Locatelli, and I am not doing a fade. Instead, what I am doing is working with a mini skein set and a full skein. So this is the full skein that you're seeing at the very top up here, this like variegated, and then mini skeins. I'm on my fourth one, that are all by Pancake and Lulu. She's a New Jersey dyer inspired by the Squid Game, and I bought this Squid Game. The full skein is called Squid Game Splatter. I bought these last year around this time of year because I just thought they were gorgeous and bright, and I didn't know what I was going to do with them, but I just decided to buy it for my stash. And yeah, there is a fifth skein that's kind of a lime green, a fifth mini skein, which I am not planning to use. That's what it looks like because it didn't really, it's more of an aspirational color. I mean, it would probably be a really pretty contrast for socks, but it wasn't really a color that was directly in here like, you know, the rest of them. Red, turquoise, dark green, and fuchsia are all in this skein. They're all sparkle base, which I don't think you're seeing on screen very well. It's very subtle though, so it's not like loudly sparkling. So it's just like little glints. You can see it probably most in the variegated skein. This is the back neck right there. So it would really look more like that. I don't have the neckband on yet either. I'm gonna go back and do that later. Because I'm using mini skeins for this is my second time knitting this pattern. The first time I did a neutral, I just did two colors, like the entire body. I didn't fade, I just did one color, and then I had a mohair color that was solid. And In this case, my mohair is variegated, and it is so similar. This is from a different tire, but it was so similar. Even the way that the dye had been laid onto the skein was very similar. So I felt really comfortable putting this together, and I thought that the variegated mohair would look great between the stripes, which I think it really works. I don't think it would have been as nice if I was doing all this splatter, but I think it really works with the solids. The mohair is from Teenybutton Studio. You may know her. She's been around a long time. And this was she did a mystery skein package, and I think I ended up getting like, maybe I paid like $15 for this mohair silk a long time ago, like a few years ago. But it was something like that, or maybe it was 20, but it was like at a discounted rate if you just bought the mystery skein. So I bought that several years ago. Back to what I was gonna say about the pattern. The mini skeins, because they're mini skeins and not full skeins, I was only able to do a certain number of rows for each mini skein. So I was only able to do like 14 rows per mini skein, and each time I had about, couple feet left, except for the turquoise. I was short by about 20-30 stitches, and I just I finished off the row with some mohair. I don't even know if you'd notice necessarily. We'll look at that when it's finished because I might be short on the red as well. But yeah, as a result, like the pattern is written for the fade to go just in these 4 blocks, and then you'd go right to rib. But because my mini skein set made those solid stockinette sections shorter, I'm going to be doing an extra band of mohair and then the ribbing. So just to get a little more length, because I technically should be doing the ribbing right about now, but that's a little too cropped for me. Maybe in my younger years I might have been okay with that, but yeah. So I'm knitting this next band with the red. So that'll be this wide, and then I'll have another band of mohair, and this will have some growth when I block it. So I'm probably looking at the finishing length being more like here, plus a banded section about like that, and then ribs. So it's probably really going to finish off right around there. Can you see that? Yeah, right around, just above the t-shirt line, which is perfect for this pattern, I think. For this knitting of it, I talked about this when I did my neutral colored one. I made the size, so Hoagie's really has very definitive instructions about choosing your size, and she's like, choose based on your bust. It can be tempting to size down because it's so much ease, but just choose according to your bust. You'll like the fit. So I knit the size 4 because my bust is 40 inches, and I thought size 4, that is the size recommended for my bust. So I thought that the sweater looked a little big on me. Like, I have a really big cup size and a small back. So my band, like the bra size band I wear is size 32. So it's small. So I always kind of have this problem where I really don't need to make a bigger size or to buy a bigger size. Instead, I need more fabric in this very, very specific region. So often when I buy off the rack clothes, if they're fitted, I need tailoring done. Like if I buy according to my bust measurement, the shoulders and this area doesn't really fit very well, and it doesn't really fit very well below my bust line either. So I usually need, I haven't worn clothes that are very tailored in a while. Like, I did it a lot when I was younger, but not so much now. So I really need like a full bust adjustment. I don't need to wear a bigger, even a much bigger size. So I'm knitting size 2 now because that's supposed to fit busts that are 34 inches. So I was like, maybe I'll like the fit of this sweater better if I make it according to my rib gauge, not my bust line because there's 20 plus inches of ease built into this sweater. So I was like, that's plenty for my cup size. So I hope that made sense. I'll probably go through this again, maybe in a clearer way when the sweater's finished, which I hope will be the next time I broadcast. I'm hoping, or the next time I record, I'm hoping that I can finish everything that's on my needles by, sorry, I dropped my coaster over there. Every single time I hope I finished everything on my needles that I'm showing you today. So that is my Lace and Fade Boxy, which really isn't a lace and fade. It's more like a bright mini skein. I thought that like being able to make this with a mini skein set and a full skein would be really game changing for a lot of people. So I'm excited to try it, and I hope other people get inspiration from it. I mean, maybe not these colors. Maybe these colors are outside your comfort zone. They're a little outside of mine, to be honest. But I'm going to do it nevertheless. But like maybe I have some my mini skeins are in here, but in here, I don't think you're going to be able to see it, and I don't really want to dig it out. But in here is a mini skein set right here that would make a great kind of fade, like color stripe. They're pale colors. So, I mean, I started to think about like all the other like mini skein sets that I have. I have a few that would, maybe work in this. Or if you had like a 12-day advent, it could work here too. You could pull out, 7 or 8 of the colors, maybe 9, maybe 10 even of the colors, and do a whole sweater with them. Could be really pretty. Okay, that's that. My next whip is the Roti Sleeveless top by Irene Lin. It is intended to be a summer sleeveless top, but I decided to make it out of some woolly wool and wear it in the fall over like a long sleeve button down blouse. I have talked about this before. I actually almost put this on Martha instead of the Lace and Fade, but the Lace and Fade is nice and colorful. But I've talked about this in the past. I'm pretty close to being done with this. It is supposed to be crop, and I think I'm gonna like it that way. It seems a little big and boxy to me. So I think the fit of it is gonna work really well as a crop over a untucked button down shirt. Yeah, so it's this beautiful sort of open, like lots of yarn overs and some tiny little cables. I really, really like it. So it's like sections of yarn over and then sections of 2x2 rib. So I'm in the very last section of yarn overs if I decide it's long enough, and then you do about a 3-inch 2x2 rib. So I need to figure out when I finish this section whether it's time to do the rib or whether I need to do another yarn over section. I'll figure it out though. And then it has a rib trim and rib around the armholes, rib neck trim. And that's it. It's done because it's a vest, so no sleeves. So I think this is pretty close. I really want to get it done soon so I can wear it. It's so pretty. I just love this yarn. This is hand spun yarn by me. I spun this yarn from fiber that I got from John Arbon Textiles a few years back. This year in 2022, I've tried really hard to not buy a lot of fiber or yarn. I've been really limiting myself and dealing with making myself use stuff that's in my stash. So if I see something I want to make, I have been looking in my stash to figure out if I can make it. I also have a pretty long list somewhere in a book about matching yarn quantities that I have in my stash with patterns that I'm interested in making. So I've been making my way through that list a little bit, although now that the end of the year is in sight, I'm sort of like, well, I didn't make as good a progress on that as I thought, but I've been doing pretty good with my yarn purchases and stuff and dealing with using yarn I have. So this fiber, John Arbon has a mill anniversary every June or so, right around Tour de Fleece. So I purchased this 2 years ago in 2020. I think, or 2019. I didn't buy any from him this year. I really wanted to because the prices are so good. But yeah, I didn't. I resisted. And because I still have some fiber that I've purchased from him in my stash. So I was like, why am I going to buy more? I can just spend what I have. I think I have 2 sweaters quantities actually of fiber from his mill. But this was from a couple years ago. I spun it into a DK weight. I think it's just a 2-ply, but it's really, really pretty. It is a Exmoor Blueface Zwartbles Corriedale blend, 40-40-20. I'll have the info in the description box. And it's like this perfect brown. It's just a beautiful heathered brown. The fiber had bits of indigo and red violet in it, so those sometimes pop up, but like overall it just makes this beautiful heathered brown. I really, really love it. And I think I'm going to use most of it. I do have another full skein, so maybe that will be left over. Maybe that'll make a nice hat or something for someone as a present. Usually, if you've been around a while, you know this, but if you're new, you won't. I go into like hat knitting mode when the holidays come around, and I just kind of alternate who I give hats to. But a lot of my family members end up getting hats for Christmas in their stockings or whatever. Last year I made everyone cashmere hats. I didn't even remember that until I was looking through my projects on Ravelry, and I was like, oh yeah, I made a bunch of cashmere hats last year. That was fun. Yeah, this year I've been working on socks for family members, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, that is my second whip. I have one more whip, and this was a fairly new cast on, I think actually brand new cast on last time I spoke with you, and I have made significant progress. This is the Anchor sweater, my boyfriend's size, and I am knitting it for one of my sons. I really love the way it's coming out. This yoke though caused me so much anxiety. Like I just had, it's not the stitch, it's just a rib stitch, so it's easy. But the way the pattern was written, I didn't get gauge. I'm using stone wool, so I'm going to circle back. Let me circle back to the pattern. I'm using stone wool. I want to say it's a Romney. I don't have the tag. I'll put the blend on screen, but it's a blend of two wools, American grown and spun, and it's a natural gray. This is the Quartz Color 3. It's really, really pretty. I love the way it feels. I love the fabric it's making. It is so nice. So no complaints about the yarn. Complaints about the pattern though. I would advise caution if you decide you want to make this. This pattern was about 5-6 years old, so I think it may have been one of the early patterns that Petite Knits, it's by Petite Knit, that she made, and perhaps her more recent patterns are a little bit more thoughtful and include a little more information. She's Danish, and the Scandinavian folks tend to write more sketchy patterns than we're accustomed to. If you're not Scandinavian, it can be rather pithy, the directions, and this was definitely not as robust directions as I expected. I didn't get gauge. My gauge was a little bit bigger, and I knit a size down or two from what size I'm going for. I don't really recall, but I'll have all the details when I finish this sweater. I realized, like, as I was knitting the yoke, that I was going to end up with a 16-inch long yoke, and I was just like, this is crazy. I went scouring through the pattern. There was no yoke spec, so I didn't have any idea what I was supposed to be aiming for this size, for the size I was going for. So I had to do some math to figure out what was it supposed to be, and then was that the right measurement. So as far as I could tell, the measurement was supposed to be 14 inches for the yoke for the size that I'm making. And to me, that just seemed really long. And looking at some of the pictures of other knitters' projects on Ravelry, I just thought it look kind of messy. Like it wasn't, there was no short row shaping to raise the back neck. I added that. I ended up completely, because by the time I realized that my yoke was going to be really long, I was already in this fourth section here of the ribbing, and it was too late to, I could either rip back and figure it out and start over and do more increases in each section, or shorter ribbing, like maybe instead of doing, I forget how many rows it was, but say it was 12, I did 8 rows to reduce the amount. But it ended up being okay, like, because I was gonna get the stitch count I needed to after I did the increases after this rib knit. So there's supposed to be a 5th rib section, but that would have brought me to size 16-inch yoke, which would just be like to my son's belly button practically. Not really, but you know what I mean. Just really long and sloppy looking and a different feel than what I was looking for. I wanted something that would be pretty sophisticated and something that he could wear comfortably to the office over a shirt. So yeah, so I did that, and then I also ended up, even eliminating that entire rib section, I was still going to end up with a 14.5-inch yoke. I wanted more like 12 inches. I'm doing a finished chest measurement of 50 inches, which it's all scrunched up, so it's definitely hitting around there. So I needed to be in that 49 to 50 inch zone, and I figured out by looking at other men's patterns, other men's knitting patterns, and finding some specs online that I really should be aiming for 12 inches on the rib, on the yoke. So that's what I did. I ended up doing some rapid increases on the raglan shaping that happens after the rib that you do right along here, and I even had to take some of the increases and throw them into the underarm area, like so, cast on more stitches. It was just a mess. There are full details if you're curious, and you are also, if you're thinking about making the sweater in this yarn or in other yarn that has a slightly bigger gauge than what the pattern calls for. I have very copious detailed notes for this sweater on my Ravelry page, and if you're not on Ravelry, feel free to reach out to me. I will share. I'm happy to share, cut and paste and share through Google Drive or something the pattern. So yeah, it was really rough getting through that yoke, but I'm done, and now I'm in this beautiful, wonderful, mindless, stitch away. I love the way this fabric is working up. Yeah, so I should be pretty good. I have to knit, I think, around 14 inches of length, and then do the ribbing and the sleeves, and that's all there is. So yeah, this, aside from all of that, roughness around making the yoke, it worked out okay. All right. I do not have any spinning, but I thought I would share with you the next spin I'm planning. So in the spirit of looking through my stash, I have this old batling from Stitch Together Studio. I don't think she dyes fiber very much anymore. I haven't seen it, though I haven't been, because I'm on a low buy year, I haven't really been following along so closely. But this is a bat that I bought in 2020, probably 2019, 2020, something like that. I had joined, she had a fiber club, so I joined her fiber club, and I was getting a bat every few months, or every month, and I think this is the last one that I still have in my stash from her. It is a merino sparkle blend, and it has a little bit of nylon in it. It's 3 ounces, so that's not a ton, even for fingering weight. It's in bat form, so the likelihood of me being able to get to fingering weight is pretty, because it's probably going to end up being woolen. Even if I do a short forward draw for worsted, it's still going to be woolen. So I, in looking at my stash, found that I had these bats I have two of these. These are from Green Goat Ranch, and they're very similar in color, so I thought it would be fun to ply these together. And these are 1.5 ounces, so I have two of them. So there you go. So now it's going to be a very big skein. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a 2-ply or a 3-ply. I think if I do a 3-ply, it will very safely be a DK weight, which could be fun. This could be a fun skein for hats or for a contrast color and something. So yeah, that is my next spin. I just wasn't feeling the spinning this week. I'm not spinning that for anything in particular, so I tend to be more motivated with spinning when I have a goal in mind. Okay, so now I did buy some stash. After doing all that, low buy, working from my stash, blah, 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 I did buy some yarn and some fiber. There were a couple special, I mean, this is what gets you, right? Like, you get this idea that this is a one-time only thing and you're never going to have opportunity to get this again, kind of thing. So there were a couple of those that I went ahead and grabbed. So let me start with the fiber. This is from one of my favorite dyers, Kim Dyes Yarn. She did a show special for Shenandoah Valley in Virginia, a color that she called Seasons Change. It's so beautiful. This is in BFL Silk. It's a BFL Silk blend. But this is going to spin up so wonderful. I'm going to do that quick pink skein probably and then spin this, even though I don't have anything in mind. I know that with the silk in it, getting to a fingering weight is going to be a breeze, and that's probably what I'll do. I don't think I'll do if I want to do DK weight, I usually do a 3-ply because my go-to spin is pretty thin. So 2-ply will bring me to a fingering weight, where 3-ply gets me closer to DK. But yeah, I have a sweater's quantity of this. I just thought it was so beautiful. I love those plums, those peaches. So good. So, and I have been really good about not buying fiber all year aside from my advents, so I felt empowered to buy that. We're getting into the home stretch of the year, right? I'm probably gonna have another low buy year though. It's been, once you do it, it's not that hard. I did buy some yarn. I bought from Woolly Mammoth Fiber Company a sweater's quantity of this beautiful natural black sheep color. It is a fingering weight. It's 4-ply. I think it's probably more like a sport weight actually. It is 50% Heberden and 50% Black Welsh Mountain. And Emma talked about on her YouTube channel that she didn't know when she would ever get the fiber again. She hoped that she would get some next year, but she said this year's was really extra soft, or especially soft, I think was how she put it, and that it was really beautiful. And I have been wanting some natural black sheep, undyed black sheep colored yarn for a while. So I don't know what I'm going to make with this. I don't have a plan. So we'll see. It'll tell me what it wants to be when the time is ready. So that is going into my stash. One last stash acquisition. As you know, I don't have socks on the needles this week, but I will be casting those on soon. Casting more on soon because I am knitting socks for my adult children and their partners. I've got 3 pairs done. I need to do 2 more pairs before Christmas. I should be fine. I can knit a pair in a week if I put my mind to it. It's more that I tend to carry the socks around with me, like they are my travel knit, so I'll take them in the car with me when I'm going to work, or I'll take them to meetings and stuff. So they get a few rows here and there and don't get a lot of love unless I put my mind to it, and then I can, whip right through it. But I'm kind of new to sock knitting. It took me a while to figure out how to size socks well to my foot and to realize that I'm really more of a DK sock person. I'm not a fingering weight sock person. I can do fingering weight if it's hand spun and it's woolen spun, like a woolen spun. I like that. I like extra cush and poof and air in my socks. So I've been enamored with self-striping yarn for quite some time, and I've always thought, oh, if only they made it in DK. Well, I found some. I stumbled upon some, I should say. So this is from Mustache Yarn. I think she's on the West Coast. I'm not positive though. I might be messing up where she is. I'm pretty sure it's a US company. And she does self-striping DK, not a lot of quantity, but a little bit. And this is a special Halloween color called Over the Garden Wall. It's a really cute, kind of disturbing, mildly scary, kind of disturbing, I guess I should say, animated series that is also on HBO. And each episode is like 10 minutes, so there's 10 of them, I think. You can get through it. It's like movie length when you put it all together, and each episode builds on the story. So it's a pretty cute story. Stars Elijah Wood, if you're interested. But yeah, I really like the story, and I thought these colors were so pretty. And what the owner of the dye company does is, this looks like one skein, but it's actually two 50-gram skeins that are evenly divided so that I can knit socks with the matching socks. So I'm so excited. I need to get those Christmas socks done, those Christmas gift socks done, so I can get this going for me. I have a question for you all who are more experienced sock knitters though. I've been knitting the DRK Everyday Sock, which is a 2x2 rib sock toe up with a Flegel heel. When you do self-striping, is that an absolute afterthought heel situation? I was trying to think. I don't know if it will work in the Flegel heel. I'm curious to see what it would look like, but on the other hand, if you've tried it and you're just like, oh my god, it's total disaster, just don't do it, I would love to know that. I'm not opposed to doing an afterthought heel. If that's the case, then probably what I'll do is just toe up tube and do the heels, do an afterthought heel. In fact, I have a little extra DK weight sock yarn, 75/25, which is what this is. This is 75 superwash. Yes, superwash 25 nylon. This is the same, so this could potentially be my heels. Because I have a little extra. This was from one of the last pair of socks that I made for one of my sons. So yeah, I would love to know about that. If you can help me out. I won't be casting it on anytime soon, so even if you're watching this like a week or 2 or 3 after I post, please feel free to share your knowledge. Drop some knowledge down in the comments so I know, and other people will know too. I will report back, so you don't have to read the comments if you don't want to. Okay, I have a little more stashquisitions. If you've been following along, I've been interested in making the Funfetti sweater by Sylvia Watts Cherry that is in this recent summer edition, I think, edition 14. Is that what it says? Yes, number 14 of Lana magazine. You can see my gauge notes right there on the cover. So I have been wanting to make that, and I decided that I wanted to use Lamb & Kid Todd base, which is a beautiful yak cashmere base. She has, it's expensive, it's 34 a skein, it's only 50 gram put up, it's 150 yards, but she does what she calls monthly matinee, where she drops the price by 25%, down to $27. So I've been, slowly collecting through her monthly matinee color releases, the colors that I want to use to knit this Funfetti. So as of my last episode, I had these 2 colors, and I was trying to figure out what else. I was spending some time, And I've been looking at her color catalog and trying to figure out what colors I want, and just kind of just spinning, you know, just waiting for the right colors to be released so that I can go ahead and buy them. And then this could be like the next cast on that I do, or a cast on that I do before the end of the year that I'm knitting for myself. I made a video, so some stuff happened. I made a video about a week or two ago, a week and a half ago, about her October color releases, because they were some that I had been thinking about. So I'm going to have you watch the clip where I'm talking about, and there's going to be some areas that I speed up because I think it's about 10 minutes, so I'm going to speed it up in some areas where I'm talking about color choice and trying to figure out the colors that I want. So go watch that and then come back and I will show you. So I've been working on just kind of slowly developing a collection of the Lamb and the Kid Todd. It's very expensive, I think. You can see right there. But she, Lamb and the Kid, the businesswoman for Lamb and the Kid, it's 150 yards. She runs a monthly matinee where you can get these skeins, like certain skeins each month. Here, let me just show you. Certain skeins each month she discounts by about 25%. So here's the web page. And then if you scroll down, here's the monthly matinee, so for October. So she, on the Todd base, which is the base that I'm using for this sweater, for that sweater, it is $27. So you're saving a substantial amount. So I was able to purchase both this one, K, and Caftan, at the $27 price point, which is nice and much more reasonable. And since then, I have been poring over the yarn from Lamb and the Kid that comes in, like, what are her colors? I'm not 100% sure how the monthly matinee works, other than, so these are just all the colors. I don't know if I can get to a, so anyway, I'm going through here. There you go. There's a image of a lot of the colors. It's not all of them, but this is her normal line, and you can see that there's a lot of colors that have lines through them, indicating that they're sold out. But it's a ton of colors. So I have been poring over this, trying to figure out what other colors do I want to do this sweater, because I wanted to embrace like a 70s palette, which I'll pop on screen here. So I've pretty much come up with, hang on, I'm probably going to need that again. I've pretty much come up with a few colors that I know, that I've been playing around with, like in my head, when it comes to, so like I was interested in fox, like maybe fox with these two, or wait, I think Amarillo was there at some point. Anorak as the gold, so then it would be pretty similar to what's happening there. Also driftwood I liked. Yeah, I mean, you could start to see chili, so I was interested in this, like, as a potential third color, because remember I'd said I wanted a chocolate brown, so I think that could be quite nice. I've also been toying with the idea of doing a bright blue neck trim, so I'm not sure if I want to do that, or if I would prefer to do a softer blue. I'm just flipping through because eventually I'll get to it. I also thought about this color, Dahlia. Yeah, so lamb, this is the color. So if I chose the anorak color and lamb, I would probably get pretty much what's going on here, just slightly keyed a little different. So, I mean, I think I like this color better than I like this color, but this is a really strong contender for me, as is other colors like Chile, that red, like reddish brown, and also Anorak, and also this color Otter, which is a rich chocolate brown. So to try to figure this out, I think I'm going to draw it, because this yarn is really expensive and I don't want to purchase yarn and then just have it sit here. The idea is to, you know, purchase yarn with intent and come back with, you know, exactly what I need. So, and this pattern, it uses 450 yards in my size of each of these 3 colors. That's why I've got 3 skeins of each of the blue. This blue is much brighter than it's looking on screen, but maybe I can tweak with this one is exactly the way it looks on screen. It's funny how colors sometimes do that. Anyway, this took on extra urgency for me because this month, this October, the monthly, I think I have to go back here to home. The monthly matinee includes, for the Todd base, Chile and Lamb. So those are 2 colors that I have in contention for finishing up this sweater. And I was really tempted to just go ahead and buy both of them. Like buy 1 skein of this to do the neckbands and waistband and cuffs, and then buy 3 skeins of this to, you know, do the 3 colors. Oh my gosh, I think that would look so pretty. Very tempted, but I thought that I would first be cautious and draw a picture first, like draw a couple images. So I pulled out, these 2 are representing the orange and the turquoise. This is brighter than the turquoise that I have, but I think I'm going to use those 2. This is going to be a stand-in for the Chile. This is a stand-in for the Otter. Even though this is really redder, it's going to be a more, you know, it's a little bit, it's not, a little too light. This is a darker tone than the pen. And for Otter, this is a little bit lighter than what Otter actually is. This pin will stand in for Lamb. Let's see if I can get Lamb up. It's going to be pretty bang on. And I found a bright blue for the regatta color. I found a gold for the anorak. I'm sparing you me going through, and then a beige, just for if I need a neutral. So I'm sparing you me going through, digging through my marker bag, finding all of the colors that will work. All right, so I'm just gonna do a little sketch here. I don't really know why that's creased. Let me turn that around. Of the, just super rough. This, if I was gonna get fancy, I would use my French curve, but I'm just gonna do a rough sketch. Okay, so ignoring where I screwed up at the top, and I quickly realized that, oh hi, Mr. Moo. Quickly realized that I needed to draw thicker, or that it was really going to take me longer than I wanted to spend. I like this. I had intended to draw other colors, but I think I really like this. Maybe just for comparison's sake, I could just draw some stripes to just get some other colors and see how they would look. So let's work in the gold.
I'm a little more confused now, trying to figure out what might do better. I don't know, I kind of like those, but I think I would like the chili. I think the chili is a nice shade of brown, and you can see that pin is not, it's a little bit brighter. It's not really dead on. It's just kind of to give you the idea of, I do like the way in the all over, the way it looks, the way it came out. There's something about that gold in there though that's just really poppy. I mean, I could do that as the trim with the gold as the third color in the body, or I do gold as the trim with this in the body, like the way this is drawn. Here's the thing with the matinee. What she does is each week in the month, a new color, a color that's just available at the discount for that week is released. So tomorrow, she does it every Monday. So tomorrow on Monday, so right now I could buy these three colors, and Kid is this pale, kind of pale blue. Who knows what she'll release tomorrow. So if she releases the gold, then I'm going to need to figure it out, because the three additional colors that I want, or I think I want, are gonna be on sale. So I need to figure this out. I don't know, I'm gonna chew on this. I'm sure you have your opinion, but when by the time you see this, I will have already made up my mind. But I also feel like it'd be pretty hard to make a mistake. I think all of them are really pretty. I do really like that, but that is probably pretty close to what is in the sweater. Not that that's a bad thing. It would be totally fine, but I want chocolate brown in there for some reason, like a dark brown. I don't mind it being the reddish brown, but I do like the chocolate brown as either the trim or as the third color in the body. This is pretty nice. This one. But I don't want gold neckband. That's what I figured out. Don't really want a gold neckband. Okay, I'm gonna think about it.
Welcome back. So I didn't have a clear decision, I don't think, at the end of that clip, but I have one now. And what I decided to do is purchase the chili that was on the matinee for $27 a skein, and then I just pulled the trigger on gold on the, I think it's anorak is the color. Yes, anorak. And this is chili. The blue that I have is K. And then the orange that I have is called Caftan. She has a couple shades of orange, but this is one that's a little more mild. There's one that's more keyed up than this one. So, and I probably already said in that clip that my inspiration was a 70s, sort of the 70s vibe, and I found some palettes from the 1970s that I liked. And that's how I sort of did this. I decided that the orange was going to become my cuffs and collar, and that the body is going to be these other three colors. So I already swatched. Oh my god, this yarn is so soft. The drape is going to be amazing. Like, one of the things that I don't much like about the pattern pictures, one sec, is that the sweater it's made in wet wool, which I have some of that yarn, I've knit with it, and it doesn't really look all that drapey. And I think this fabric is going to be really nice and drapey. It's got really great drape. So I think this is going to be a really good yarn for this sweater. And I'm so excited to cast this on. I have been resisting because I've had it knit into a swatch for several days now, and I really want to cast it on. I already know what size I need to make. I did all the math on figuring all of that out, but I'm resisting because I want to get these other things off the needles. So I hope that happens soon. So yeah, my other acquisitions were the Lamb Kid, other two colors that I'm gonna be working into this sweater. So that matinee was really great. It ended up saving me, even though I paid full price for the gold, I ended up saving about $30 on the project. So that, I don't know, felt worth it. Plus I wasn't in any hurry to get the colors. I have one last little clip for you, or one little segment for you, and that is exploring woolly myths. So I'm going to just pull up just so that I read the question. So the idea of woolly myths is that you send me a question, a myth, or of maybe this lore, that you're interested in knowing the truth behind the lore kind of thing. Because knitting is a hobby, or a thing. Hand knitting is something that has been around for thousands of years, but the technology and science didn't really catch up to some of the practices in hand knitting until the 20th century, when technology and science started to be applied to many things that we do to make us more efficient and to make us, more accurate and all of that. So by that time, hand knitting was pretty much relegated to a hobby, and especially mostly to a female hobby. So there's a lot of stuff that just gets handed over through word of mouth that's not necessarily true. So that's the idea of this segment, and I have a form down below which you may click and send me a question. And I've been, questions are trickling in, which is fine. If I ever don't have anything to talk about, any questions from anyone, there won't be this segment. It's simple. But anyway, I've had this question for a few weeks now, and I've been wanting to talk about it. The question is from a viewer named Leah, and she says, I've always been bugged by the term Kitchener stitch. There's no way a random army general invented the definitive way to close the toe of a sock in a mere matter of weeks, when women knitters failed with this idea after hundreds of years of knitting socks before this. Or is this simply a misogynistic response to demean women's work again? Okay, so there's a couple things I want to address in that post. So first of all, let's talk about Kitchener stitch first. Let's talk about the name of it. Kitchener stitch, yes, it is named for an army general, a UK army. Actually, I think he was the Secretary of Defense. He ended up being the face on the poster of We Want You, the UK version of that, which if I remember, I'll put a picture of that on screen. I do have a picture of him, a painted portrait of him. He wasn't a great guy. I mean, he was, okay, maybe he was a skilled general, but he had there were some problematic things about him. If he didn't invent internment camps, he widely spread the use of them. I mean, he's problematic in so many ways. The reason that he is credited for this stitch, he didn't invent it. You're right, Leah. He didn't invent it. I don't know who invented it, but we know that it was around since at least the 1880s. Vogue magazine published a sock pattern in 1918, and called the way that they closed the toe Kitchener stitch after this general. And the reason is because he was promoting knitting for the troops, right? So it was a way to kind of tie in like knitting for the troops into this article. It was clever marketing, I guess, for people of that time period, because knitting for the troops during World War I and II were pretty. It was pretty important. I think Kitchener had actually died by then. I believe he died. I know he died in the 19-teens. I want to say it was 1916, but I might not have that right. I'll put it on screen, the right number. It was somewhere in that 1916 to 1919 window. So he may have been dead by the time Vogue magazine did that. And that's UK, British Vogue, not US Vogue. Yeah, so that's why it's named Kitchener stitch. So he didn't invent it, but he promoted the use of it because it doesn't create a seam, and having a seam at the toe could be problematic for soldiers that are wearing the same shoes and socks day in and day out without any ability to wash or clean them. So the seam could create chafing and all of that. So that was why from that publication and that practice of making socks for soldiers, it became widely known as Kitchener stitch, even though he's a problem. You could just call it grafting if you want. I wanted to just talk about the second part of the question too, about demeaning women's work. We think of knitting as women's work, but it wasn't always that way. I have a history book, The History of Hand Knitting by Richard Rutt, that I have had on hand for a while. I'll be honest, I haven't read it cover to cover. It's been around. I think it was published in the 70s. 80s. 87 was when this one was published. I don't think that was a reprint. Yeah, 1987. And it's a collection. It's from a British perspective, so it's written. He's our UK professor, scholar, probably maybe even passed by now. I'm not sure. He is actually he's a bishop. Yeah, so I mean he was active in the Second World War, and anyway, he compiled this history of hand knitting, which is very much a slanted perspective. But that's an aside. I just want you to know that everybody knit. If you go back several centuries, everyone knitted. It wasn't gendered. We gendered it. It got gendered probably around that World War, maybe a little bit before that. Probably Victorian era was when it started to get gendered, because there were knitting machines. So as soon as there were knitting machines and there was technology to speed up those processes, the men went that way. They went with the machinery and left hand knitting to the hobbyists and for, specialized high-end garments. So knitting was done by all genders up until the Industrial Revolution, we can safely say. I don't know the exact date. Richard, I don't know why I keep calling him Paul. Richard Rutt probably gets closer to that number than I am, like just saying the ballpark, but I know I've seen the documentation from the 1500s when knitting machines were first invented, and I don't know if it was a circular sock machine, but there were machines to knit stockings, because knitted stockings were the thing. Everybody wore knitted stockings, men and women alike, and there's documentation from that time period of the hand knitting guilds denying patents or protesting patents that were being given out to knitting machine inventors. So that's how we know that there were active hand knitting guilds. There were mostly men in those guilds. There were some women, but it was mostly men. So a lot of what we think of as women's work, or as we gender knitting to women, That's just simply not the case if you look at history. It's a fairly recent development if you look at the long history of wool and yarn and sticks and twine, so to speak. sticks and string. So there you have it. So yes, it was probably a marketing ploy to get women to, or people to knit for the soldiers. By the way, soldiers in the U.S. were taught to knit up until at least the Korean War, up through the Korean War, I think even up into Vietnam. All soldiers were meant to knit. They knitted their own socks and they knitted their own hats and gloves, and probably scarves and stuff too. So I don't know about UK law, but I do remember that from my history classes, from my fashion history classes. And older soldiers will tell you that they learned how to knit. They knit their own socks and stuff. They didn't do such a great job, but of course they probably were busy fighting and stuff and couldn't always make as many socks or gloves or hats as they needed. So so there's, men have always been knitting. They just kind of, they kind of migrated more towards the machine knitting and that type of work, because that would then require working outside the home. And in the time period, in the Industrial Revolution time period, when machines were being invented and fine-tuned and stuff, those machines were so large that they were usually owned by a company, and then employees would come in and run them. And because that meant working outside the home, that was more likely to be men in that period of time. I hope you found that interesting. I hope I wasn't too rambly. Send in more questions if you have any. I'd be interested to continue digging into some of the questions that you might have about woolly myths. And that wraps up my show. I hope you enjoyed today, and I hope you're doing well, and I hope you enjoy the fall. I did a couple fall clips, some falls. I live in New England area, Atlantic New England area, and the leaves are amazingly beautiful right now. They are at peak or close to peak. So yeah, you can look forward to more fall clips in the next episode too, I'm sure. I hope you have a good week. I'll see you soon. Bye.